Matthew 1, verse 5, Salmon, the father of Boaz by Rahab, and Boaz, the father of Obed by Ruth, and Obed, the father of Jesse, and Jesse, the father of David, the king. The question is this genealogy technically correct? Because it seems that Rahab, which was all the way in the book of Joshua, now is the father of Boaz, who was in the book of Ruth. He married Ruth. And then David is coming down a few generations later. So basically, if we follow this genealogy, Boaz is the son of Rahab, and David's great-great-grandmother is Rahab. Now, if we look more into dates and everything, Rahab meeting the Israelite spies is around 1405 BC, and David being born around 1040 BC, which presents a problem. That's 360 some years for a few generations. So either one, the dads had to bear these children when they were over 100 years old, which seems unlikely in those days by this time. Otherwise, the second explanation is that there were certain genealogies skipped, which is a good explanation. And these are what we call telescoping genealogies. Basically, they didn't have to record every single generation. And of course, the question is then, does that make scripture inaccurate here? And the answer is no, and partly because we have to look at authorial intent. Again, if the author's intent was to include every single generation, then yes, there would be something suspect. But oftentimes in the culture and the writings of scripture, there were skipped generations, oftentimes in the genealogies, including in Luke and other parts of the Old Testament. So the genealogies didn't have to reflect every single generation. So, and just as a example of use of the word father or mother, for example, a lot of the Jews considered Abraham their father, right? Or in the book of Genesis, it talks about Eve as being the mother of all living. Does that mean she was the direct mother of all the people of the earth? No. So we understand those words not to be direct mother, but figuratively, right? And so this would explain. And again, Matthew has a purpose here, and he wanted to primarily show that Christ comes from the line of David, as was predicted and written in the Old Testament. And David, of course, comes from the line of Abraham. And so that is the primary intent in Matthew. Convenient wants to group these into 3 groups of 14 generations. And so that's the best explanation of why Rahab and David, there wasn't that many generations listed, is because this was a telescoped genealogy.